There's no question at this point that Brompton management must be in love with me, and after this video they are going to fall even deeper in love. But somebody has to say the truth, especially somebody who knows about building e-bikes. So yeah, you can get an electric Brompton for about $4,000 starting price. It is the same looking Brompton as the rest of them. It folds the same way. You can remove the bag, but it isn't really the same system. You cannot take your existing bags and put them on this bike, or vice versa. And worst of all, you cannot remove the electric kit, at least not in an easy way. You could buy a traditional front wheel and try to install that and remove the bag, and I guess that might be a solution. But what I see everybody's doing is to have an electric Brompton and to keep or get a mechanical one in addition. That's quite a bit of money. You pay $4,000 for an electric, and when you don't want the weight or the complexity or the danger because you are flying and they're not going to let you fly with it, then you have another Brompton which costs another $2,000. So we are talking about a package that costs $6,000. And I think I have a better solution than that. Here is the Brompton Electric. It's a little bit under $4,000. It does offer the advantage of giving you at least the minimal basic kit straight out of the box. It comes with a warranty. You can take it back to the shop. It is very reliable, but that's no big news because the average life expectancy of a hub motor is minimum 1,000,000 miles, and I have never heard of anybody having much of any problems with any of the electric kits. The only problems that I have had was some issues with the wires, or if you have an exposed controller, the controller may flood. And I also burned down a controller once, but that was because I was overclocking it to high heaven. So yes, it's reliable, but so are most of the kits on the market. Now, another option you have, if you already have a Brompton, then you don't even need to buy a bicycle. You just need a kit. If you don't have a Brompton, and you definitely want one, I have talked about other bikes on this channel before, but if you definitely need the kind of shopping cart conversion and compactness of the Brompton, you can go down to $1,200 or so to get one, although that's going to be one speed, but very light. And with an electric support, you may not need any speeds. You may not want a 6-speed bicycle, and you can buy a 2-speed Brompton for not much more. This is two speeds. It's $1,600. I guess for that money I'd rather pay a little bit of extra and just get the 6 speeds. I personally only use 3 speeds on my bike, and it is totally maxed out. It can do 700 watts. It could do more if I wanted to, but I don't think so. I never even used the 700. But so I'm just saying, if you want a single bike solution and you want it to be heavy and electric sometimes, or other times you just want to go mechanical and have a much lighter package, around 25 pounds instead of 40 pounds, you have better solutions than to have 2 bikes and spend $6,000. This Brompton kit, the Brompton Electric kit, is also limited to 15 miles an hour, which I think is really awful. That's a very low speed limit. Typically, bikes sold on the US market allow at least 20 miles an hour, and there are a number of high-performance bikes that you could get with more than that, close to 30 miles an hour or even above that. So one kit that you could do, there are many kits out there. And the nice thing about a kit is you can install it when you need it. You can remove it when you don't need it. And this is a very neat kit, the Swytch kit. And it's not by accident that you have to join a wait list to get it. I think it's worth getting on a wait list and wait a few weeks or months and get something for a very affordable price that gives you a higher speed, 20 miles an hour instead of just 15. And these teeny tiny lightweight batteries, this company used to have these ugly little bags that you had to mount in the front, but they have really tightened that up, and now you get these cell phone looking batteries. They don't go very far. The skinniest of them will only give you 9 miles of range according to their own claim. But even then, you can get 4 of them and carry the rest of them in some pocket backpack or somewhere out of sight, rather than to pile them up in the front. You can also pack them. They are small enough to be packed into a very small front bag. You could get a small front bag and pack another 5-6 batteries into it if you need more of a range. Most people don't commute farther than maybe 2 battery sizes, something like 15, 16, 18 miles each way. And you can charge at work if you are commuting. The parameters are very similar to the Brompton. You get a small 250 watt motor. You have 36 volts only. This is not a huge amount of power, but it's totally adequate. It can definitely take the sweat off of you even in July. And there is excellent portability, just the ability to remove it when you don't need it. I really do like. And installation is really easy. Don't imagine that installing a kit is necessarily all that hard. You get a front wheel that you swap out from the old wheel. That's all. You just swap out the front wheel. You put in your new electric wheel, and you get them in any size you want. There's a wire coming out. There's a sensor to sense you pedaling. I have the same thing, and I really like this way of putting it in. You can just pop them into 2 pieces, and there is a snap. You pop them in at the bottom bracket. No tools are required. I really like that. There are other type of kits. Basically what the Brompton has is, you can see the sensor here. What the Brompton has is a bottom bracket, which means the only way to modify it or to do anything is to disassemble the bottom bracket and to remove it. This is the sensor that senses this thing moving. I don't know to what extent you can hack this. I mean, some people move the sensor over to watch the crank or even the big wheel to imagine that you are going a lot slower than you're actually going, and then that would remove the speed limit. But you have to have these little magnetic dots in it. So I'm not sure how easy that is to do. It may not be so easy. 20 miles an hour is not a bad top speed. I personally prefer not to have any top speed at all. But, you know, the kit overall is attractive. It's plug and play, easy to install, easy to remove. The battery is kind of a larger cell phone. I have a smaller cell phone than that. And you have a very nifty little controller. So I would say if you don't want overwhelming power, and if you don't intend to get into this thing very seriously and modify a kit or overclock things, then this is going to be enough. For most people, the Swytch kit or something similar would be enough. Now, according to a review from 2022, this is Electrek. You should check out electrek.com and bookmark this site if you haven't already. Their claim is that you can get a cheaper kit for something like $600 and a more long-range kit for $800, which is very cheap. So here it is. This is from last year, so this year is probably going to be $900. You spend $1,500 on a 2-speed bike, or $1,600. Spend another $900 on this thing. You have an electric bike that is faster than the standard Brompton and can be disassembled and switched back into a much lighter weight bike that you can fly with for $2,500. I think that's a pretty good deal. And you can also get the lighter kit with the lesser range. I think that has a purpose for some people. If you're just commuting a few miles away, then that's all you need, really. Now finally, I would like to mention the kit I have used. Although mine is, both the bike and the kit have been seriously modified. But if you go to this website, Grin Technologies, instead of having grin.com as their address, they are actually at ebikes.ca. This makes no sense. I don't see why they don't do grin.com or grintech.com or something like that. But again, just for the record, the URL is ebikes.ca. They are in the Northwest in Canada, and they are selling something I would describe as an open kit. This is a kit that gives you perhaps the most powerful computer in the business, this thing that you see here. They also give you a pretty large motor that is rated to 500 watts, but can be overclocked by as much as 50% if you want to overclock it, especially if you have a coolant injected. And you can see the same kind of sensor here that we saw with the Swytch bike. This is my favorite one. You just snap it onto outside of the bottom bracket, not touching the bottom bracket itself. It has also other things. It has a throttle-based starter, just in case your sensor is not functioning or you want to jump the green light as soon as it comes on. So this is helpful. You have all these various throttle solutions. And it's open. You can overclock it all you want. This is an old controller. They are no longer using that. If you buy a kit now, you're going to get this controller. This is an amazing product. It's good up to 1000 watt, so you're never going to get close to that. And it's completely, all of the electronics are completely submerged in plastic. So I once destroyed a controller. In fact, it was this cheap controller that was originally in this kit. This one. This is a cheap Chinese $100 controller. And the water leaked in, and there was this heavy rain, and mine was completely destroyed, the second controller. And that was when I bought this one. There are some attachments and some cables and things to help you set things up. This is a bit more complex to install, because what the Swytch bike is doing, the Swytch bike is giving you just a motor and a sensor, a computer, and you just plug and play. You just plug them in together. This is a bit more complex with the Grin kit, but it's not impossible to figure it out. So let's see what kind of a price could I get here. Okay, I'm getting all this stuff. I get the controller, computer, e-brakes. Oh, regeneration. You have to have regeneration. I only use one brake, really. You can have two e-brakes if you want to. I only use one because I don't want to have unnecessary wires. And regenerative braking would only mean having braking come from the front, not from the rear. There's not much brake action you're going to get from the rear. Anyway, 75% of the brake force in the average brake action is going to fall to the front, not to the rear. Pedal sensors. I think a sensor was already included now. No, I guess it wasn't included. So, okay. Throttle, I would get a throttle just because if the sensor breaks down, then you can use this throttle. And okay, you can also use it to test the kit, test the bike, see what's broken, if anything is broken. Battery choice. Whoa. This is about what I have now, although I have definitely you want to get the 48 volt. You could get the 36 volt, but I think 48 is just a more futuristic battery. I haven't even seen this one. This is like a bottle-shaped thing. I keep mine in the front bag. You can stick it into the front bag, but you can also stick it onto the top tube. Charger, you have to get a charger. I don't have a quiet charger. I kind of have a fast and very noisy charger, but supposedly we're gonna get one that's a bit slower and cheaper and quieter, just in case you want to charge at work. In fact, I might get one myself for charging away, but it's a slower charger. It takes me 4 hours to fill up 14 ampere hours. So with that smaller charger, it's probably going to be 8 hours a day at work. Programming cable, I don't know what this is. No. Useful accessories. Once you submit the order, they will communicate with you via the email, and you can tell them that you want that coolant liquid injected into the motor. It's just a few dollars, so I would get that. And I lost what I've done here. How much is this? Okay, this is the summary. Okay, here it is. So I have the battery and everything included for $1,300. I buy a cheap Brompton. Say I max it out. I go for a 6-speed. Okay, $1,900. Even $1,800. So I pay $1,800 for a brand new Brompton 6-speed. It's got all the bells and whistles, and I add another $1,300. So at this point, I'm going to get close to the money you pay for the standard electric Brompton. But now I have a kit that I can tune, overclock, clock it up to 700 if I want to, and a motor that's twice the size of what the Brompton gives you. And the kit can be removed. My kit can be removed, and I periodically do remove it. Sometimes you want a lightweight bicycle. Now, this kit is, the official max is 500 watts. But when they ship it to you, they're going to ship it to you clocked at 350 or even lower, which I think is a good idea. If you can't figure out how to clock it up to 500, maybe you should not. And it's just better for a beginner to not be so aggressive. I find even 350 pretty powerful and scary at times. So even that is pretty aggressive. In the beginning, you don't need to touch this computer at all. If you are getting bored and you're really getting used to the bike, say after 6 months, you may want to clock it up to the legal limit of 500 and spend another 6 months to a year on the bike. 500 is pretty much all you need. You don't really need 700. I totally maxed out my bicycle, but I am crazy. If you're not crazy, you don't need to do that. So you're okay with 500. You never need to touch the computer much. But if you do, there are manuals on their website. I mean, there are all kinds of manuals about everything you can do. This computer is powerful. It allows you to set how sensitive you want this sensor to be. It can measure the temperature inside the motor, and you can order it to automatically switch it off. So say I overclock this motor to some insane 800 watts. I'm not in any danger of it burning down because the computer is going to switch it off if it heats above, say, 70 or 80 degrees, whatever I determine. And it's full of settings like this. It has a zillion settings on it, so it takes time to learn. I'm still learning it, but you can do incredible things with it. And for money, that's not any more than what you would be paying for the Brompton Electric. So I think this is something to be considered, especially if you have not bought your e-bike yet. If you already have your e-bike, then you have what you have. There's no easy way to remove the kit. You could get a standard wheel, and maybe attachment is slightly different.
I don't know if it is. You could get a standard wheel. It's definitely cheaper than get a non-motorized Brompton. And then you can just take off the bag and switch out the front wheel. And I think that should do it. That too is a much cheaper solution than to have two bikes. So this is it. This is what I wanted to say about the Brompton. I don't think their electric bike is the best one out there. I think it's far from it, but it's reliable. It's ready out of the box, so it's an option for some people. I will say more about the prefab e-bikes that you could buy that are the best ones on the market, but that's going to be another video. I'll see you in that.